It's that time of year once again to cue up the brass bonanza as it is Whalers night, as the Hurricanes on their annual tradition of honoring the Hartford Whalers. And this time they get to take on the Buffalo Sabres.
Your Locked On Hurricanes, your daily podcast on the Carolina Hurricanes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to a Thursday edition of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you to the Everydayer for making this your first listen of the day. 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, talking everything about your Carolina Hurricanes. I'm your host, Zach Martin. I'm the credentialed Carolina Hurricanes beat writer over at the Hawkeyes. Also do some NHL content over at the Calder Times. Also the co-host of the Search Cast, which is a weekly Carolina Hurricanes podcast, along with all my duties here at Locked On Hurricanes. If you're on the YouTube version of the pod, you can see I am wearing my Hartford Whalers blue and green hat. Got to do some, honoring, got to do some. You got to fit in with the, it's the time of the year where we get to honor the Hartford Whalers, and that's what this episode is going to be about. Looking back at the Carolina Hurricanes record on actual Whalers night, is their sixth rendition of doing the whole thing. And then we're going to preview the Canes against the Buffalo Sabres to wrap up the month of February. And also, what are the keys to the games and who are the players to watch? Now, like I said, this is the sixth time the Carolina Hurricanes are going to be honoring the Hartford Whalers at its, we all know what's going to happen. The website's already changed to the Hartford Whalers logo, the colors, the word mark, and now they take out P. Pablo's, raise up for Carolina, and now it's going to be the brass bonanza, which was, very big for all the Hartford Whaler games. And of course, they do this one time of year. Like I said, this is the sixth time they're going to do it, and this time it's going to be against the Buffalo Sabres. And the thing is, it's going to be very interesting to see what jersey they're going to go with, because we've had the reverse retros where they were the grays. We've seen them wear the white jerseys, and that was last year. And we've also seen them wear the green jerseys in the past. And I'm hoping, because I'm wearing my blue Hartford Whalers hat with the green bill on it, I am hoping that we get the blue Whalers jerseys. We haven't seen those ones yet, and I think those are very, very classic ones. I think they're very clean. It'll be something different, but I'm very curious to see who the Hurricanes are going to go with on the night. So 5 times they've done it before. We're pretty much unbeaten right now in regulation. At least they are 4-0-1 when it comes to Whalers night. So turning back the clock, when did we start doing this, and how do we get to this 4-0-1 record? Well, the inaugural Whalers night, started back on December 23rd, 2018, for the first time since the team got relocated to Carolina in 1997. Of course, who else but up against the Boston Bruins, and, just an old Adams division matchup. You got Carolina, you got Hartford at the time, you got Boston at the time. Well, now it's Carolina. They ended up winning that game 5-3 back in 2018, which, funny enough, was the season the Hurricanes made the playoffs for the first time that year. Fast forward to 2020, Hurricanes shut out the LA Kings 2-0. Then 2022, Carolina once again wins 2-1 over the New Jersey Devils. Then this is where their streak of winning kind of gets somewhat stopped. This was March 2023 against the Boston Bruins once again, but this one ends in a shootout loss. But thankfully, the Hurricanes, the following year, which was last season, in February of 2024, on the 10th, beat the New Jersey Devils in overtime, and that was the Sebastian Aho game winner, which we always saw was one goal. But hey, they don't ask how; they ask how many, and that was the big one where Sebastian Aho won it for the team. So going into this, the Hurricanes are, hoping to keep that unbeaten run going as they take on the Buffalo Sabres for the first time in this matchup. Because, like I said, teams we've seen before, you've seen, Boston twice, you've seen New Jersey twice. The only team that was outside of those two was the Kings, and now you get the Buffalo Sabres for the first time. So the hope is, knock on wood, that, this is where they keep their unbeaten run going, they get their back-to-back wins, and just keep this ball rolling on what is Hartford Whalers. And of course, like I said, if you're not on the website yet, go check it out. It's very cool. They got the Hartford Whalers logo, got the old Whalers wood marking. Of course, you got all the background behind it too. So you got the nice little mix of a blue and green. And if you are going to the game, obviously, they're going to have a lot, very cool Whaler stuff in the team store. So that's going to be a lot of fun to do that. Now, the last time these two teams played each other, this was back on January 15th, where the Sabres won 4-2. And that was the game that a lot of people were not really fond of. So hopefully this is kind of a revenge game for the Hurricanes as they, look to finish off the month of February with a win. They are, losers are 5 of their last 6. Their only win came against the Utah Hockey Club before they went on their Four Nations break. So hopefully, you have a 3-game homestand. You got Buffalo on Thursday night. Then you got Edmonton Saturday and then Calgary Sunday. So hopefully you're thinking that Whalers night, you get that mix of the home cooking. You're back home. You got a nice little 3-game homestand over the next few days. Maybe the old school mojo of the Whalers maybe kind of gives you that push that you need to, overcome this bad stretch of February that it was. At least end it with a win and then kind of turn the page towards March, where 9 of your 14 games in the month are all at home. So hopefully this is a nice stretch run where the Hurricanes can use Whalers night as the night to kind of, pole vault them back into the win column and see them play great hockey once again. But I know there's a lot of mixed feelings on Whalers, and I know a lot of people don't really care for the Whalers anymore. It's been since 1997 since the team got relocated. I know a lot of Hartford fans are still not happy with the move, so this is always a contention every year when they bring up Whalers night. Of course, they see the colors, they see the logo, they see, they hear Brass Bonanza, the graphics, and all that stuff. So I can see, where that's kind of a contention for them. And I know a lot of Hurricanes fans like, okay, yeah, well, they were the Hartford Whalers, but, they haven't been like them for a while. What's the point? But, some of us who are, big hockey nerds, hockey historians, hey, this team does have history. They came from somewhere. So it's always cool to just be able to, look back and see the cool jerseys, the cool logos, and, kind of honor, a team that, while they did leave, Hartford, they did come down to Carolina. Of course, the history is still there. So I always find it interesting because I'm a big hockey nerd. I'm a big hockey buff. So I always like Hartford Whaler nights. It's fun because you get to see a lot of cool new, the jerseys, the logos, the apparel, a bunch of cool different. I mean, last year they brought the Cooperalls back, from that era too. So it's always a fun night just to do something a little bit different, at least one night a year during the hockey season, where it's like you see logo changes, you go back a little retro to the, 80s, early 90s, stuff like that. But like I said, we've seen the gray jerseys, we've seen the whites, we've seen the greens. I'm hoping we see the blues. The blues would be absolutely fantastic if that was the way to go, because that would be a lot of fun just to be able to see another different jersey. Because we've seen the whites, we've seen the greens a good amount, but why not do the blue? Because that was part of the history. I think a lot of people do enjoy the blues a lot more. I certainly like the blues. The whites are great too. I don't mind the greens either, but some about those blue Hartford Whaler jerseys were really nice. So I don't know. It'd be curious to see which ones the team wants to go with. And, hopefully it's you see a nice little 5-0-1 record. Like I said, you beat the Sabres to avenge that loss, and you kind of find a way to put yourself back in the win column. And like I also said, just you end February with a win. Yeah, you're going to be, just 2 wins for the entire month. But it was a weird month because you played 4 games to start off. Then you had 2 weeks off. Then you had 3 games. So hopefully, it's kind of a little bit of a, you kind of put the month behind you. You had a great January where you got 10 wins. February wasn't great, but like I said, if you win against Buffalo, you'll set your, the homestand on the right foot. You end the month of February on a lot better note, and you kind of get ready for January. And hey, what a better night to start with that on Whalers night, where you get some very retro jerseys, retro graphics. And you get to hear the Brass Bonanza once again for those who were able to hear it when the Hartford team was still around. And even when let's say, even played the AHL games back in the early 90s when the Hartford Whalers were still a part of them. So definitely a lot of fun. Curious to see how it plays out. But yep, that's our record right now going into this game. For Whalers night, the Hurricanes are 4-0-1, looking to stay unbeaten and hopefully get a 5th win in the books. Now, past all that, the fact that it is Whalers night, we got to preview the Hurricanes against the Buffalo Sabres. So stick around as we'll do that here in a second on a Thursday Whalers edition of Locked On Hurricanes. If you're like me, your mornings have to start with a good cup of coffee, but I got tired of selling for grocery store brands that just weren't cutting it. That's why I turned to Trade. And let me tell you, this coffee is next level. Trade is the number one specialty coffee marketplace in the U.S., bringing you fresh coffee from over 50 of the country's top roasters. Their experts have taste tested thousands of coffees, curating over 400 amazing 50 different roasts. And whether you're new to coffee or know exactly what you like, you'll handpick the perfect match for you. Now, for me, what I really like about it is the fact that you go on there, you kind of take a quiz, you kind of figure out, what roast are you looking for? Are you more of like a light roast, or are you a medium roast, or are you a dark roast? And I'm really excited for the fact that I did the Astro one. It's got an astronaut on it. I think it's very cool. And the good thing is you can do it in a bunch of different, ways. You can do it with the grounds. You can do it whole bean. You can do it K-Cups. I did mine with the cold brew. So I'm very excited to try this one out. And the good thing with Trade is if you don't love your first bag, no worries. Trade will replace it for free until they get it just right. And right now, Trade is exclusively offering our listeners 40% off your first order at drinktrade.com/lockedonAHL. That's drinktrade, TRADE.com/lockedonAHL for 40% off your first order. So why don't you help yourself with a good cup of coffee and get Trade now. Welcome back to segment 2 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. And like I said, at the end of segment 1, we're now going to preview the Hurricanes against the Buffalo Sabres on Whalers night, which is set for a 7 p.m. Eastern puck drop over at FanDuel Sports Network South or on 99.9 The Fan if you're listening on the radio. The Buffalo Sabres 24-27-5 coming into this game. Your Carolina Hurricanes 33-21-4. Like I said, this is the second game of a 3-game season series between both sides, where Buffalo won back in January 4-2. The next game against Buffalo is not until April 8th, so the Hurricanes are not going to see the Sabres in the month of March. Now, looking over the last 5 games, who are the points, goals, and assist leaders? Well, how about Rasmus Dahlin? 9 points in the last 5 games, 6 of them being assists. They got Alex Tuch with 4 goals. Now, flip side for the Hurricanes, Andrei Svechnikov, 5 points, 4 of those being assists, and Sebastian Aho having 3 goals. Of course, as we all know, Andrei Svechnikov did score in the game against the Toronto Maple Leafs, where they unfortunately lost 6-3, and they got shut out by the Montreal Canadiens. Now, looking at the goaltending situation, don't be surprised if it's going to be Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen in the net for the Buffalo Sabres. He is 20-16-4 in net for them with a 297 goals against, an 8.95 save percentage, and 2 shutouts. On the other side of that, they do have James Reimer, who's 2-6-1 with a 295 and an 8.98 save percentage with 0 shutouts. So don't be surprised if you see UPL in the net for the Buffalo Sabres. Now, in terms for the Hurricanes, we saw Frederick Anderson last game. He's 6-4-0 with the 231 goals against, a 903 save percentage, and a shutout. But for me, my money is on going to be Peter Kochetkov, going to be the net for the Hurricanes, who's 20-11-3 with a 255 goals against and a 903 save percentage. It also has a shutout. So most likely, if I had to guess of what our goaltending matchup is going to be, it's going to be UPL against Pierre Kochetkov. In the last 10 games, and this is where I can see where Hurricanes fans might be a little concerned. The Buffalo Sabres come into this game on a 2-game winning streak after beating the Rangers and the Anaheim Ducks. They are 7-3-0 in their last 10, where they had a 4-game winning streak against Boston, Nashville, New Jersey, and Columbus before losing to Nashville in the second matchup. For the Carolina Hurricanes, 4-5-1, losers of 5 of their last 6. Their only one coming against the Utah Hockey Club, and you have to look back to January for their last, before the Utah game. You have to go back to January where they beat the Chicago Blackhawks and the New York Rangers in back-to-back games. Not really ideal, but that's kind of what the situation you're in now if you're the Carolina Hurricanes, the fact that the slow starts you had against Toronto, the slow starts you had against Montreal, you got to be ready for this one because you got a Buffalo Sabres team. Like I said, winners of 7 of their last 10. They had a decent winning streak in the middle of that where you're looking at 4 games. And they're, against some of them against, either teams in the playoffs or teams on the precipice. Unfortunately, Nashville, but Buffalo did beat teams who are in a wild card hunt and teams who are in the playoffs. So it's going to be definitely interesting to see how that works out overall. You just got to be ready for this game. And now you're looking at the tail of the tape, and of course, as we all know, this on paper only tells you one thing because we saw where, Montreal's giving up a lot of goals and they give up none against the Hurricanes. But in terms of the power play, 2 teams who are very much towards the bottom of the league, Hurricanes 24th at 19.4. The Buffalo Sabres are actually 27th at 16.7%. So right now, both power play units are very much struggling. This, for me, is where I think could make things could be in the Hurricanes' favor, where they're second in the penalty kill at 84.3, while the Buffalo Sabres are 20th at 77.5%. So you're not going to get that same, number 1 for the Hurricanes going into the Montreal game against the number 7 penalty kill. This is where, even if the Hurricanes are 24th on the power play, you still have an opportunity to take advantage of a team who's 20th as of right now. In terms of goals for and against per game, the Hurricanes are 9th in goals for with 3.22 goals per game. And then goals against, still 8th in the league with the 2.79. That's despite giving up 10 goals in the last 2 games. The Buffalo Sabres, they are a team that do score a lot, though. They are 3.21 goals per game, sitting at 10th. So they're right behind the Hurricanes in the fact that both these teams can score goals. Unfortunately for the Sabres, and hopefully this is something that the Hurricanes were able to do against Montreal, but can do it against the Sabres. The Sabres sit at 29th in the league at 3.36 goals, for per game. This is where it's kind of a big deal if you're the Carolina Hurricanes because you score a lot of goals and you're going to be a team against who gives up a lot of goals. We didn't see that against, Montreal. You got to do it against Buffalo. Buffalo's a sub 500 team, but they have been on a bit of a heater recently. Like I said, winners of 7 of their last 10. It's a team that scores a lot of goals too, but the Hurricanes are a team that's used to shutting down teams outside of their Eastern Canada road trip over the last 2 games. But you're still in a good spot for the Hurricanes that if you start this game early and take advantage of it, you can really make this team pay who gives up a lot of goals. Like I said, you're talking about a Buffalo Sabres team who's 29th in the league at 3.36 goals allowed per game. I know you've only scored 3 goals in the last 2, but this is where on a night like this for Whalers night, you're back home, you're on a 3-game homestand. This is where you need to take advantage of a team who can't stop the puck right now. Yes, UPL has a good record, but his save percentage and his goals against are okay. I mean, he is above a 900 save percentage, but his goals against are pretty high. You have to take advantage of that. So that's gonna be a huge thing. And looking at the penalty, at the special teams. Special teams did no favor for the Hurricanes. They're now 1 for 15 in the month of February, and you went 0-3 against the Montreal Canadiens. Now you're going up against a team like the Sabres, penalty kill wise, are 20th. They're not 7th like the Canadiens were. You have to take advantage of this, despite you having a 19.4% power play. Luckily for you, their power play is 27th. This gives you the opportunity, if you're the penalty kill unit, to get back to the number 1 spot. You're not that far back of Dallas. You're still the best Eastern Conference penalty killing team. You're still second at an 84.3. Use that to your advantage. This is a game where special teams, like I said, it's always a cliche, but it's going to be a big thing that's going to matter. So if you're the Hurricanes, you got to win the special teams battle. And like I said, in terms of goals for and goals against, this is what Trip Tracy said post-game after the Canadiens lost. The Hurricanes have to win the goalie battle. That means it doesn't matter if you got Anderson in net or you got Kochetkov in net. It doesn't matter if they got Reimer or UPL. You have to win the goalie battle, and that's what you need to do because they didn't do it against Toronto. They didn't do it against Montreal. If you got to find a way to limit their chances, limit their goal scoring abilities, and making sure the team who doesn't really score a lot, Buffalo does score. They're 10th, but if you want to put them in a tougher spot where you have the better goals allowed, average rankings-wise, you need to take that to your advantage. And you score a lot, too. Like I said, the Hurricanes are 9th in the league. The Sabres are 29th in goals for, or goals against. Score will. Put the puck on net. Put them on their back heels, and that's going to be very key things. So, talk about key things. Kind of mentioned a little bit. We'll do a little bit more of a dive and to see who are the players to watch for here in a second on a Thursday Whalers edition of Locked On Hurricanes. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, and even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Welcome back to segment 3 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. So like I said, we kind of went over the possible goaltending matchups, tailed the tape, last 10 games. Who are the players to watch on both sides? And right now, I mean, you got to look out for Alex Tuch. 4 goals in the last 5 games. Like I said, the Sabres and winners are 7 of their last 10. He's got 20 goals and 44 points in 56 games. He's sitting at a plus 16, which is kind of crazy to think about if you're the Buffalo Sabres and where their record's at 24, 27, and 5. But, you know, we got Ryan McLeod at a plus 13. You might be doing something good. So, Alex Tuch, 19 minutes and 21 seconds of time on ice. That leads all of the forward core, and that is actually 4th on the team behind, you know, with the defensemen of Byram, Owen Power, and Rasmus Dahlin. But Alex Tuch is definitely one of those guys you need to keep an eye on. He's on a hot scoring pace right now. Like I said, 132 shots is behind Tage Thompson, but he's a plus 16 at 44 points, a guy you really need to keep an eye on. Talk about Tage Thompson, 28 goals, 51 points in 50 games, 159 shots, 18 minutes of 39 seconds of time on ice. Oof, Maroons. Tage Thompson shoots a lot and, you know, over a point per game, and that's even with him missing some games as well. And he still leads the Sabres in terms of points. Now, looking at the defense, obviously it's got to be Rasmus Dahlin, 9 goals, 37 assists for 46 points in 48 games. Even he missed time and is still almost a point per game guy, averaging 24 minutes and 18 seconds and 123 shots for the Sabres. I mean, hey, that's why they, you know, gave him a nice big old letter on the front of his jersey, and that's why he's got 6 assists and 9 points in the last 5 games. That's a guy who's really feeling it right now. So if you're looking at the forward guys of Thompson and Tuch, you really got to look at the offensive powerhouse that is Rasmus Dahlin for the Buffalo Sabres. Now, in terms of the Carolina Hurricanes, okay, where do I start with? I mean, you got to hope your big boys step up. You got to hope that your guys, you know, who didn't score in the last game, you know, hasn't even scored in the last 2 games. You got to turn to Sebastian Aho, 20 goals, 56 points in 57 games, 20 minutes and 11 seconds of time on ice, 151 shots. That's not even tops in the team overall. That's under Svechnikov at 157. But if you take the whole season aspect, Mikko Rantanen at 160. But if you're Sebastian Aho, you need to get back on the score sheet. You need to be that leader. You need to be that guy that's clutch. I mean, you got the game-winning goal against the New Jersey Devils last year in overtime. This is a game where the Hurricanes and the fans really need Sebastian Aho to step up and be the guy to be the driving force, because right now it's just, you can definitely tell his game is there. It's just, it's not, the finishing isn't happening. So hopefully if you're looking at Sebastian Aho, maybe good things will happen. I mean, once again, you got to look at Mikko Rantanen, and I hate to keep bringing him up, but I think this is the guy who we saw a lot of chances against the Montreal Canadiens, just, you know, hit the crossbar, hit the post. Montembeault makes a huge save. Rantanen is so overdue to score a goal. I think this is where you see the opportunity of him having that breakout game, and I think it's very much going to happen. It's just patience needs to be there. It's only his 8th game. You know, I think it's going to happen. It's just, maybe gripping the stick a little too tight, still dealing with a lot of stuff that's going on. But I think this is where you're hoping that Mikko Rantanen has that breakout game, because I would love for him to stay here on long term. I think having a huge game against the Sabres on Whalers night could be that game for him. Now, looking in terms of the defense, I'm looking at pretty much everyone outside of Jacob Slavin. Jacob Slavin, I will even give Jalen Chatfield some credit too. Jalen Chatfield has been really great this season, a plus 19, in 58 games, 13 points, averaging 18 minutes, 57 seconds. Of course, Jacob Slavin, 21 points in 21 minutes and 37 seconds, which leads the entire team in time on ice. If you don't count Mikko Rantanen's 22 minutes, because that counts towards also with Colorado. But in terms of the Hurricanes alone, Slavin leads. Outside of Slavin, I would even say outside of Chatfield, the entirety of the defense, this is a game where you need to step up. This is where the aspect of the Hurricanes being a defensively minded team needs to show out. I don't know why they've gone off their course of action, what their structure is, but they've gone off of it, and you can tell it's definitely biting them. I think this is where they need to be a more structured defense. Got to stop leaving the goalies out to dry, and you just got to play that game of what the Hurricanes are known for. Two-way, 200-foot hockey, transition from defense to offense, and that's what needs to happen in this game. You cannot let the other team have all these grade A chances where they're scoring 3 goals on 3 shots and you leave your goalie out to dry. This is going to be a massive game, and I think the defense really needs to step up in this one, because you do not want to give Tuck, Thompson, Peterka, Byram, Power, Dahlin, all of these chances of scoring you. We saw what happened last time you faced these guys in Buffalo. You lost 4-2. You definitely don't want to lose them to end February on a bad note, where you've lost 6 of your last 7. I don't think you really want to do that. So this is a game where the defense really needs to step up, and hopefully we see a win for the Hurricanes on Whalers night to keep that unbeaten run going. And you take that 4-0-1 record to make it a 5-0-1 record. But it'll definitely be seeing how it works out. Like I said, for keys to the game, I kind of already mentioned it. You got to start on time. You have to start on time. Yeah, maybe this game against Canadians was a little bit better, but you still felt sluggish. You still looked off. You still lost 4-0. You got to start on time, and you got to play a full 60 minutes of Hurricanes hockey. You just have to. And in terms of, you got to put the crowd behind you. You got to get Lenovo Center rocking on Whalers night. You are 21-6-1 at home. Yeah, your road record is 12-15-3. It's not great, but you got to use that home record to your advantage. You got to use Lenovo to your advantage. You just have to. Like I said, you got to play 60 minutes of Hurricanes hockey. You got to start on time, and you got to win the special teams battle. Yeah, your power play isn't great. It's 24th, but your penalty kill is second. If you're on the penalty kill, shut them down. Don't let them score. And if you're on the power play, just get one. Just get one, so that way you know that power play goals can happen, and you will feel good about yourselves in this one. But I'm hoping the Hurricanes get a win. I hope we keep this unbeaten run on Whalers night going, and we can finish this on a high note. But guys, that will wrap up the Whalers edition of the Thursday episode of Locked On Hurricanes. Thank you for your second listen. Well, go check out Locked On AHL podcast, bringing you the daily league wide stories that matter with local coverage you love from Locked On. Find Locked On AHL on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you want to keep up with me, I'm at One True Zach on X. I'm also, the podcast is LO_Hurricanes. I'm also on Blue Sky at the Zachary Martin, where I have link trees in both my bios, where you can check you can check out my Hurricanes articles at thehockeywriters.com. If you want to check out my AHL content, it is at thecallertimes.com. If you want to check out my other podcasts, well, it's the Surgecast on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. For this show, well, Spotify, Apple, Google, iHeartRadio, it's Locked On Hurricanes. Just follow, subscribe, hit the 5-star rating and review, so I might just read it on the show. For YouTube, well, it's Locked On Hurricanes. Subscribe, hit the bell notification so you don't miss the show. Hit the thumbs up button, let me know if you like the show as well. Share with other Caniacs who become everydayers just like you. But I hope everyone enjoyed this Thursday edition of Locked On Hurricanes featuring a little bit of Whalers Night. Hope everyone has a great Thursday, and hopefully everyone has fun watching or being at the game for Whalers Night for the Carolina Hurricanes against the Buffalo Sabres. But until next time, as always, let's go Canes and have fun on Whalers Night.